Now, welcome back to the channel today, guys. Now, we have a special Eminence in Shadow episode today. The obligatory fan service episode. Oh, boy. Well, I didn't even think I would do this episode today. I was tempted to skip over half the episode and get to the actual important part. But, you know, where's the fun in that? We're going to talk about some boobs, some butts, and everything in between. So buckle up, guys, because it's about to get different. Let's say that. So let's get straight into it, honestly, and just talk about the Eminence in Shadow episode, 10 today? Because, oh boy, it's an episode, all right. Now, I know I said our episode today is the boobs and butts episode, but we're going to start a little differently, with Sid telling us that, you know, the school was half destroyed, so we started summer break early. Most of the students have gone back home, and it's pretty quiet in the dorms. And since Sid doesn't have anything to do at home, he decided to stay at the dorm and dodge his sister for the whole summer. Turns out there's nothing to do here either besides be Spider-Man on the wall. But it's here that our boy Sid gets a letter from Alpha as he suddenly gets serious and says, so the time has come to settle old accounts. It's in the final resting place of ancient memories, the sacred land, Lindworm. And it's here we get a quick glimpse into the daily lives of some of the shadows, along with their titillating daily routines. And it's here we see Epsilon, who says, when I met Lord Shadow, I gained the power to fight against two fates. And it's here we have a flashback scene to, I assume, when these two met each other, as he's explaining to her about the slime, as he says, this is the power to change your fate. When you can change your form at will, you can change a fate doomed to defeat into victory. Change your fate and take hold of the truth that lurks in the shadows of this world. As she says, Lord Shadow, I swear to you, I will claim victory over nature itself. And it's here we transition over to Beta, who, as we know, loves to write stories. So what kind of stories, you ask? Basically fanfics about Shadow. As she's like, damn, this story's not good. It's just a little too overly dramatic. Now you see, these two have a rivalry together. A rivalry as old as the dawn of time. Who has the bigger booba? A question that scientists have been trying to figure out for millennia at this point. As Epsilon tells her, it might be my imagination, but I feel as if Lord Shadow has been looking my way more frequently of late. I have felt the intense passion of his gaze right here on my chesticles. As Beta's just like, that's impossible. It must be a mistake. As Epsilon says, surely you've noticed it yourself, Beta. You've felt the Lord's impassioned gaze yourself, haven't you? After all, your boobs are far larger than my meager bust. But it's here they get interrupted by Nu, who has to give us a nice, different perspective of her own. As she tells them that we've received a directive from Lady Alpha. But it's here we transition to Iris and Alexia, who are just having a little bit of girl time, you know, going shopping with each other, as sisters do. But Iris has to remind her that, remember, you're heading off to the sacred land as a special guest for the goddess's trial. As Alexia says, I know, but it's normal for the special guest to chat with the archbishop, remember? I can use that opportunity to look into the dark rumors about corruption and missing orphans. And since I'm just a helpless little princess, no one will suspect a thing. But it's here our sisterly duo gets interrupted by Gamma, who welcomes them to her establishment. And it's here as they get to talking, Iris lets slip that Alexia's going on a trip. So Gamma says, my, allow me to select some items that you may need then. And Alexia tells her thank you, but I won't be needing this for the trip. But can I ask you to show me some articles of, clothing that you would recommend? As Gamma smiles and says, well, then may I suggest something along these lines? As she shows them to the underwear department. More importantly, the thong department. And Alexia is instantly captivated, saying, Iris, I'm confident that I have a finely shaped buttocks. And of course, Iris is adamantly against it. But Alexia takes her into the changing room and says, Iris, I refuse to be swayed any longer by words I don't need to hear. I want to value the words of those who will acknowledge me. If you refuse to allow me a thong, Iris, then I will yield. I very much want a thong to win him. I mean, I have a strong personal desire to wear a thong, but I will yield. But answer me this, Iris. Do thongs really deserve your absolute and unwavering rejection? As Iris is just like, maybe not absolute rejection. As Alexia is just like, perfect, I'll take like 40 of them then, send them to my room. Oh, and I'll take that G-string too while we're at it. But it's here we transition to the night of the attack on the school, as we see that Oriana is desperately looking around the school for Sid. And when she goes to the medical bay, she sees our boy lying there, all bandaged up, dead. Oh, but he's alive, actually. As she takes his hand and says, your unwavering effort and love must have produced a miracle. I accept all of your feelings for me. And now, I give you my heart as well. And it's here as we transition to the train ride to the sacred land of Ludworm. We see that Oriana is attached to Sid at the hip. And our boy does not like it very much. Now, Sid is trying to find any way to get out of this. He's like, the sacred land is right there. I could just wait until nightfall, sprint at full speed, and I would be right there. My idea to take the economy seat in the train and be a background character was a mistake. As he said, she happened to find me at the station. She said if I was going to the sacred land, we might as well go together. And as she keeps going on and on about their future together, Sid is trying desperately to get away. As she explains that one of the holy sites of these divine teachings is where we're headed now, Lundworm. As Sid says, it's where the goddess condescended to alight upon the earth and grant power to 3 heroes, supposedly. And no matter where he goes, she is right on him, grabbing his hand and will not let him go. As she says, we can't speak to anyone of this yet, but let us do all that we want. Let us do all that we can for our bright, happy future. As Sid's just like, yeah, I'm gonna want some space here. And after narrowly avoiding her for 2 entire days, they finally arrive at the sacred land of Lindworm. And it's here that they both just go out for a little bit of sightseeing and shopping, as Sid sees this weird little trinket, he sees, and she says that legend has it that this is where the hero Oliver cut off the left arm of the demon Diablos so long ago, somewhere within the steep mountains surrounding the sacred land. Are ruins known as the Sanctuary. It is said that that is where they have sealed away the left arm of Diablos. But as the two are walking around town, we get quite a rare encounter indeed. Because Oriana sees that her favorite author, Natsumi, is having a book signing. As she says that she's a popular novelist known for her tremendous imagination and her fresh and original world building. And as Sid looks around and looks at these magnificent books, we see such classics as Romeo and Julieta, Asherella, Little Crimson Riding Hood, Star, It's a Trap, Wars, One Purse, Dragon Ball, and let's not forget Kage no Jitsuro Ku. We can't pronounce that one. We'll just let that one go. As our boy Sid is just like, yo, the plagiarism is so blatant, it's almost refreshing. And as he goes and meets this magnificent writer, it's none other than Beta, of course. Because of course it is. As Sid thinks to himself that, Beta told me she likes literature, so I told her a few stories from my past life. The idea was that she could use them as inspiration to come up with a cool story. Who'd have thought that she'd completely plagiarize and steal them? Who'd have thunk it? And as she hands him the signed book, she tells him that This contains all the details of our mission. And as Sid looks inside of his limited edition signed book, Oriana notices that, wait a minute, those are ancient letters. As she says aloud, like, why would she write that in the ancient alphabet? As our boy Sid is just like, well, obviously. It's cool, obviously. As Oriana's just like, damn, I didn't realize that's the kind of thing men were into. Maybe I should practice. But it's here we actually get a serious scene in our episode for once. As we see Alpha walking, as she says, great hero Oliver, what did you really do at the place they call the Sanctuary? The more we unveil the threads of history's darkness, the more fact mingles with fiction. As she says, Archbishop Drake, what were you hiding? As we see that he was murdered on top of the statue, pretty brutally, I might add. As she says, who killed you? Would they dispose of a man even at your high status? Clearly, yes. Tomorrow, we wait for the moment that the door is opened. And it's here we transition to our boy Sid, who's doing his favorite pastime in the world, looking down on the proceedings from a very high vantage point. As he sees someone running along the rooftops, as he says, I won't fault you for making that choice, but it won't change the ultimate outcome. And we transition to, I would imagine, the murderer of Drake as he lands in that alleyway and starts drawing his sword. As we actually see Sid jump out and attack him. With the spoon of his ice cream, I might add. But this is only a distraction as he gets hit by giant slashes from the sky and gets cut into pieces. As Sid says that, you hurled magically imbued sword strikes at your victim. I should expect nothing less from Epsilon the Precise. And let's just say she looks a little different. As she says that the target has been eliminated by the cult's executioner. We managed to take out his henchman, but the executioner himself has gone into hiding. We are moving on to plan B for Booba. As she says that we have prepared for the consequences. As Sid tells her that I'll proceed with my own plans. Do not fail me. And as we see our boy Sid walking away into the glamorous night, he says to himself, Epsilon is a very proud woman. I can tell by the amount of slime she's piled on herself in certain places. And with that obligatory boob joke, our episode ends. And what the f is this episode, man? I tried not to crack so hard during this episode. What the fuck? We had to get a fan service episode, guys. We just had to. It's mandatory in a show like this. You know that. You guys know that, and so do I. Like, my lord. I didn't think we'd have a whole segment on thongs and all that, but hey, why not, right? Why not? But yeah, jokes aside, we got a murder of a very powerful man who is high up in the hierarchy in the sacred lands of Woundlearn. So that's quite interesting, honestly. So we'll see where that goes from now. I gotta say, after our serious episode last week, I didn't think we'd get an episode like this, but I'm not disappointed. Jokes aside, though, I am curious to see where we go from here, you know? For next week. So you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below. It was very stimulating, to say the least. But that'll be it for today's episode, guys. You know, a little fun one today. I hope you guys have a great day, week, month, and year. And until next time, deuces, have a blessed day. And I'll just see you guys later. Deuces.